No, you
Oh
asked the
no,
wrong
no,
one.
yeah.
I'm a dinosaur.
Listen, you and me both. Let's see. I always try to do it, but it never actually works. Not that it just takes a little time. All right, so it says we are live on YouTube. Yay!
Oh
Let me
shoot!
mute. Hold on.
Hey.
I'm gonna have to mute this window in a second. Hey everyone, this is Roshida Dowe. She's on the loose here saying, hey. Okay, saying, hey, I got us live. I am here with my unofficial therapist, my favorite cousin, Trisha Antonio Smith, is here with us today for Ask a Therapist. I should have a song. It doesn't sound like that though. We need to Ask a
I don't
Therapist
know if
song.
spirit fingers are involved.
Okay.
Yes, it's too. That's a little creepy.
It's a little creepy for Ask a
I don't
Therapist.
think.
We'll find another song and dance a little later. But I wanted to introduce Trisha to you because I have known her since I was 15, 16. So, like 3 years. But for those of you getting to know her today, she is a licensed clinical social worker. Yes, I said that right. And you've been practicing for how long?
Ooh, about 15 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm here in the state of Florida, the beautiful Sunshine State, where we are fortunate to, our cold front is 70-degree weather. So we're wearing our jackets today.
You are going to make them jealous. You are definitely going to make them jealous. Although I am in the sweatshirt and I am blazing hot because I think it's about the same temperature over here. So I can't say too much. Okay, so you are in, your office is in Miramar, right?
Yes, Miramar, Florida.
And tell the people who you usually work with.
I have a wide variety of clients. As of lately, they have tended to be Black people in general. But I get them from all types. It's word of mouth. The only insurance I'm taking right now is Cigna. I'm on Health in Her Hue. And it's been busy. I think it's been a great time where people are starting to seek out therapy, and I'm starting to see people from all walks of life just wanting some help.
Okay. So are you a lot busier than you were like a year ago this time?
I definitely am.
Okay.
Which is a good thing, which is a good thing. But it also means that there are more people hurting, I think, but also more people open to getting help. I think more people have maybe the time or the willingness, or this whole pandemic, everything that's been going on is really like a amplified mirror kind of. You're stuck in the house, you're looking at yourself and all the people around you, and everybody's getting on your nerves and nothing is going right, and you need help.
Right. So increase in people. There hasn't, as far as I know, been an increase in therapists. I know some people are having a really hard time getting in to see therapists. So what we're doing today is we are not coming to Trisha for therapy, right? That is not what we're doing. What we are doing is I wanted to provide a forum where if you had questions about the therapy process, about things you wanted to ask a therapist before you started going to therapy, or if you wanted to know as your therapy process went on, but you didn't want to ask your own therapist, we have someone here today that you can ask. So drop your questions in the comments and I will ask those, but I will also start with a list of questions that people had for Trisha before we got here.
All right.
Including some of mine. Let us go. The first question is, what do you want you call them clients or patients?
I'm in private practice, so I call them clients. If they were like at a facility or a hospital, we call them patients.
Okay. So what do you want your clients to know before their first appointment? Like, so how do you want them to prep for it? What do you want them to know? If you could say anything to your future clients, what would you say to them?
I would say kind of have an idea of what you're coming to therapy about, because that's going to be important in who you're choosing as your therapist. Um, how you're going to pay for it. If you're going through insurance, do they accept your insurance? If you are paying out of your own pocket, how much does it cost?
Okay. Okay. Anything else about like how you want them to interact with you, maybe?
Um, you'd also, well, nowadays you also have to know if you want to go into the office or do you want virtual, and if that therapist is virtual or in office.
Okay. Okay. And you're doing most of your appointments virtual, or are you going into offices now?
Right now I'm straight virtual,
Okay.
and I'm finding that most of the clients want that. But there are therapists out there that do both or either. For me, it's just working out better for me this way.
I completely understand. So, question for you that is not on the
Yes.
list, but I'm gonna throw. That's what I do. I throw it in.
Throw it in.
When you have new clients, do you find that do you get a lot of cancellations from like first timers, or are they once they make an appointment, are they committed?
Um, I'd say it's been 50-50. I
Okay.
think I've been getting better at knowing who's going to kind of follow through. You can hear the hesitancy. But for the most part, people who will at least come to the first session and see, what they think of it, and then we'll see if they make another appointment. But
Okay.
it's about 50-50.
Okay. So some people are kind of like, I made the appointment, but I'm not showing up. And some people are like, I made the appointment, but I'm not coming back.
Right.
Okay.
But
And you don't go ahead.
most of them, once they come, they stay though.
Okay.
You know,
And you
and
don't take that personally if they don't come back.
you cannot. No, because the truth is, the relationship that you have with your therapist is it's a special one. You have to feel a certain amount of trust. You're going to be opening up about a lot of things. You're going to be telling them personal things. So you have to be comfortable with the person that you are meeting with, and you have to feel like you're understood and be free to say what you have to say to them. And you're not for everybody,
Right.
and vice versa. So I don't take it personally.
Okay. All right. Now, if you have questions, don't be afraid to drop them in the chat. I'm hoping those are working. Ask your questions here. If you're watching the replay, hey, drop some questions in anyway. I can always call Trish and have them answer her for me if she will take my call. Okay, so second question is kind of bouncing off of what we just said. If I go to a therapist for like a month, and then I'm like, nah, she ain't for me. Like, if from the beginning I'm like, I don't think this is the one, but I keep going because I
You
hate
want to see,
change.
right? So I like somebody's been therapy.
So when I go to a therapy, like when I go to a nail shop, a dog grooming place, a car wash, I'm gonna keep going until I'm just like, this is not working, right? So if I feel like that about my therapist, how do I break up with them?
Now, see, this depends on how you are as a client, I guess, because the therapeutic thing I would tell you to do is just call them and tell them, hey, I don't think this is gonna work. This is what I'm thinking is going on or what I'm not feeling. Maybe it's something that you can resolve. Um, Maybe your therapist can switch to a different style,
Okay.
or maybe not. And you just say, okay, well, if you want to try somebody else, blah, blah, blah. I can give you a referral, or you can find your own. And if you don't find it, you can always come back. But people are in therapy for things, and sometimes you have a problem with confrontation, and you have your own issues that block you from breaking up that way.
Right.
Maybe you just don't schedule your next appointment, and your
Okay.
therapist may check on you. Hey, just checking on you to make sure you're all right. If you wanted to schedule an appointment, and you can say, I'll let you know, or no. You let them down
Okay.
easy. I don't know.
All right. So you either recommend the straightforward approach of
I
the
recommend
therapist doesn't
straightforward
work,
approach.
but if you're not ready for a straightforward approach, not scheduling the next appointment tells people everything they need to know. It tells your therapist what they need to know,
You're
right?
gonna ghost your therapist, We get ghosted a lot sometimes, especially when we might touch a nerve.
Okay.
You might leave the session like, I don't think I'm gonna hear from them again.
Okay. But that is not no judgment of anyone. But when
No.
the therapist touched the nerve, that's when you're supposed to keep going, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. There's a question in the comments from Jessica.
Hi,
Hi, Jessica.
Jessica.
What benefits of therapy do you lose when you do it virtually? So what are you missing out on versus the in-person session? I think that's your question, Jessica.
Okay. Are you talking about like insurance benefits, or are you talking about okay?
I think, yeah, like benefits. Yeah.
Honestly, there is something about meeting in person with a person. There is I can see them wholeheartedly, not just what is in the screen. I can smell them. I can this is good for, substance abuse, or are you taking care of your hygiene?
Depression, I can see that.
Depression,
Yes. Yes.
I can really see how you look. I can see your affect. I can really hear your tone. And I can touch you. I can offer a hug if that's needed. So there's that personal part that you don't get from the computer. However, since switching to the virtual model, I find that I see a whole different side of my clients too that I wouldn't see in the office, where they may just be showing me their screen, but a lot of the times they're in their homes, and I feel like I'm in the home with them too. The kids are running in. Mama opens the door and yells, or oh, hold on, I gotta go run and go get something. And I get to see how you're really living your life. And a lot of the times I'll be in a session, and my own clients will be like, "Oh, here, mom, this is this is my therapist. Say hi." I'm like, "Oh, hey." So it has its benefits too.
Okay. All right.
Plus,
So
the
go ahead.
real benefit is you don't have to leave your house to go to your therapist office and sit down and wait till they're done with their next client. You're
I
at
used
home.
to take like 3-hour lunch breaks for my therapist because I'd like take like 30 minutes to get there, 30 minutes to get back. And then there was that hour, like I still needed to eat. And then there was that time of like processing all the things that were said that I can't just go back into this work meeting because I need to process how she said them coworkers ain't shit. So I need to work through that. But let's actually talk about that. Is that something that you recommend that people build into their therapy time? Is that time after the process? And is the time immediately after the best time to process, or is it days after, hours after? Give us a little something.
So that's hard to say because it really depends on the client and what their schedule is like. Sometimes they just don't have that time, that gap of a time to process. And they can only squeeze in the therapy session on their lunch break. So what I do is I try not to, if I know you're at work, I'm not going to go have a deep trauma session with you we're going to keep it on something that's not too overwhelming, so that way you can really function. Um, Typically, if somebody's doing their sessions at work, a lot of times their session may be some focused around something at work. Um, but yeah, the best time to process is after, because you need that to kind of work through whatever it is that you talked about. But for the most part, you got to get it in where you fit in nowadays. So if you can, schedule it, but if you can't, keep it light.
Okay, that's good advice. I hadn't thought about keeping it light, but that is helpful. Question number 3 from the list is, do you talk about your clients outside of your sessions?
Girl, let me get my tape. Honestly, all therapists do. What we don't do is talk about, we don't give out names or specific demographics or anything that would identify a client if we're talking about a client in general. So I may speak to another therapist and say, I have this client that this issue is going on. Have you ever had this happen? And what would you, what have you done? But I'm not gonna say, girl, let me tell you, this this tennis player came into my office. And, no, it's not like that. Um, Now, if we need to make a reference that's more formal and we want to try a different type of therapy, or we need to ask, we need to reveal specific information about the client, then we would get permission first, and you'd sign off on some kind of release form before we do that. But yeah, therapists talk about you, and because therapists also have therapists, so yes, your therapist is talking about you to therapist.
Okay, that's good to know. You've talked a couple times about different types of therapy. So can you get a little bit, without getting, I know there's I think there are a lot, I don't know, but can you talk about some of the more popular mainstream types, 2 or 3 of them, so we can talk about the differences between them?
Ooh, oh, you got me.
I know that was not on our list, so apologies.
So actually, one that I'm going to start within the next couple of months is called EMDR, which,
Someone
oh
asked
my God,
specifically
eye
about that.
movement desensitization. So, oh Lord.
Yes.
And I'm going to the training. I should be ashamed of myself. I'm reading the book as we speak, but that one is more like using eye movements to process, to affect how your brain processes certain information, and it's good for trauma patients and people with PTSD, and it's a very popular thing because it's very effective from what I've read and for what I've seen. So if you are somebody that has been having a lot of trauma issues, um, you might want to start when you're looking for a therapist, you want to figure out if this is the type of patient that they have, because um, therapists have different clientele. Some people deal with people with more psychotic disorders or substance abuse disorders, and others deal with, like me, I deal mostly anxiety or depression. Um, so you want to make sure that you kind of know what you're going in for.
Okay.
So that was one. EMDR. Cognitive behavioral therapy is another one, and to I think for the most part, most therapists kind of use a little bit of a little bit of everything, whatever works for that client. You do have a few that are like, this is what I do and this is how I do it. But anyways, okay, cognitive behavioral therapy is basically working on changing how you think about certain situations or certain memories. So that's good. It's really good for changing behavior. Um, ADHD, people with issues with it's good for school kids, it's really good for everybody. Good in the workplace. Um, oh gosh, you are really stumping me, and I feel like
Well, here.
I,
You're on
I
the
could
spot.
rattle this
Your
off.
finger.
And I just feel like I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so what do you practice mostly?
I have like an eclectic style, so it's a little bit of everything. So mostly talk therapy. So what I've been finding a lot with my clients is most of them just want somebody to listen to them and kind of understand what's
Nice.
going on in their life and to get a little validation or some feedback. And for them that's enough, you know. Um, I also get a lot of professionals or entrepreneurs that are struggling with balancing their life and their work. So we'll do more solution focused um, therapy, which is your. Oh no, there you go.
Someone in the comments just wrote solution focused therapy, and I was going to ask you about it. There we go. It all
Oh,
worked out. Yeah.
read my mind. But yeah, where you're picking a problem and you're focusing on finding the solution that to that particular problem, and you're making your goals and you're setting your objectives to get there, and it's more compact, so it's it'll be like a couple of months more
Okay.
condensed than something where you're digging out past hurts and all of that.
So can you give me an example of the type of solution I would be, or the type of problem I'd be trying to solve in solution focused therapy?
Okay, so let's say you're a person that is, oh, let me now when you ask, do you talk about clients?
Just a random example, hypothetical. Just make it a real.
um Having problems at work, feeling dissatisfied, unmotivated, um maybe becoming late, or just kind of feeling not meeting their deadlines, not knowing what they want to do with going to work or what have you. So we would try to figure out what is the actual problem. Is it your job? Is it you? Is it is it do you want to find another job? So for example, the solution might be to um start their own business. I don't know.
Okay.
Now that's a longer process, but it would be focusing on I'm trying not to be too specific.
She's not spilling the tea today, people, but
I'm
you can
not.
try. Okay, but I understand now what kind of issues I would bring in that therapy. What I have never understood, and I know you can break it down for us, is the difference between cognitive behavioral therapy and talk therapy. So explain that.
um Cognitive behavioral is more focused on what you're thinking and what that's doing for you or to you. So for example, you're a girl, you've been in and out of a lot of relationships. They've been terrible relationships, they treat you terribly,
She's
but
not talking about me. I mean, she might as well be, but she's not.
listen, I could be talking about a lot of people. Everybody's like, oh my God, I think I know her. Is she talking about me?
All clients are like, you spilled my business on the internet. Okay. Girl, terrible relationships.
So cognitive behavioral therapy will be trying to figure out what is the actual thought that keeps you into these relationships. So the belief about yourself that you feel worthless or that you don't deserve to be catered to or nice, I don't know. The children. And this is the other part. This is the other part of doing therapy from home, and the kids are home, and
your therapist has kids, right? Like your therapist has a family and they're at
your
home too. So
therapist has kids and you got kids, or you don't have
right.
kids, but your therapist got kids. So I don't
You
know
can
what's
see
going on.
you can see into your clients' lives, but your client can also see into their
They
lives.
can also see into your life. Yeah.
And I know you probably saw me skid up my face when she said her kids, but those are actually my god kids. I
That
love them
that's her
terribly,
godchildren.
but they need to stay out the room because grown folks are doing grown folks things.
I was
But
like, oh, I don't know if you can hear that. Okay. All right, they're okay. If
okay,
if
so
they're screaming, they're still breathing.
still breathing.
So what was I
That's our
talking
motto.
about? Oh,
Cognitive
God.
behavioral therapy versus talk therapy. So you talked a little bit about cognitive
Okay, so
behavioral
it'd be
therapy.
working on what is your underlying thought about
Okay.
maybe feelings of worthlessness or something like that. And then we'll be working on what are the positive thoughts that you can implant to start to change that negative process that you keep telling yourself. Talk therapy would be more so allowing you to just talk and see what comes out and then explore those as they come out. And then you can kind of create a plan from there. It's a lot more open.
Okay.
It's not as processed or whatever.
Okay. So these are different types of therapy you can look for when you're looking for, like, you don't have a therapist already. You can look for therapists who do these different models of therapy, right?
Yeah. If you a lot of clients say that, I've researched some different type of therapies and I think this is what I need based on what I'm feeling. Do you do this? A lot of times it might be listed on if you're going through insurance. Sometimes the insurance carrier will ask you what's your specialty. Um, it might be on their website, or you can just call and ask, do you do this particular type?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question on our list is, how can I tell if I'm not a good fit with my therapist? So we already talked about the breakup, but pre-breakup, what should I be looking for to say, like, because I've been to therapists where I didn't feel supported or cared about in any way. Like it was kind of like, you're here, you talk, make sure you run me my money before you leave. Thank you, goodbye.
There you go.
But
How do you know you're not a good fit for a therapist?
right, but I tell you, I stay around way too long. And I didn't have an idea of what the therapeutic relationship was supposed to feel like. And so now that I've been to more therapists, I know that I wouldn't want to go to that therapist more than once I experienced that. But now that, for someone who hasn't been to therapy before, what should they be looking for in the relationship with their therapist?
The first thought that comes to mind is comfort. I think that's the most important. I think a certain level of comfort and trust, you need to just feel that. If you and then it's also hard because sometimes it's the client, are you generally suspicious? Are you coming in there because you're paranoid? But no, there should be a certain level of comfort and trust. Sometimes that's not felt right away. But I think if nothing crazy happens the first session where you're just like, oh hell no, I'm not going back there, and you're unsure, maybe give it a second try. Okay. But if you have an overall negative vibe from your therapist, I don't know. Definitely give it one, maybe two,
Okay. But after 2 sessions, if I don't feel comfortable, it's time to go.
Yeah. I'd say two, and you have to be careful that, are you uncomfortable with the therapist or are you uncomfortable with therapy?
A word, y'all. A word.
Wait.
Oh, a word.
That sounded like Like a y'all there. Hey.
Let's grab my notebook.
Right there with
Take
that.
a note. Are you uncomfortable
With your therapist?
with your therapist?
Or are you uncomfortable with therapy?
Or are you uncomfortable with therapy? I'm really writing this down. I hope you are too.
Because depending on why you're going to therapy, it might be court ordered. It might be part of a divorce proceeding or a mediation or, some type of anger management or DUI. I don't know. Certain situations where you're court mandated, you don't have a choice. That's, or you have whatever limited choices they give you, but you got to go. But when it's your choice, you have to really examine what's your attitude about going to therapy in general. And I think that's been the main barrier to when you ask me when do clients come back. I don't take it personally because I don't think it's me, mostly because I'm awesome. It can't possibly be me.
You're awesome. You're a great therapist.
Can't be narcissistic. It's not a thing.
You could never be the problem. We know this.
Okay, I'm the solution. But no, I think a lot of people are hesitant about coming to therapy because I don't know, a lot of people have a different attitude of what they think therapy looks like, what they expect to get out of it, what are the consequences of it. Also, I've had people come in, are you going to tell, especially if you come in through EAP, people think that I'm going to tell their job, all their business. No, the only thing EAP knows is how many sessions you went to, and that's it. The things that we talk about are between you and the therapist. And sometimes people aren't ready to delve in. They take the first step, and that first little, you rip off the little band-aid a little bit, and you're like, ooh, no, put that back on. I'm ready to look at that. We gonna take that. We try that another day.
Okay.
But wait, now I lost track of what I was saying. You got me over here just talking like I'm talking to my cousin.
I told you, she can't be narcissistic. It could never be her.
It's not me.
With a therapist. Okay.
You see how it's her fault? Got me here just on a tangent. I don't know what's going on.
Tangent is my fault. All right, I'm gonna bring it back because Stephanie is in the comments and hey girl, hey Steph. She says, Steph, if it's not a good fit with your therapist, can you ask that therapist for a referral to someone else, or is that rude?
No, you can ask your therapist for another referral. So say for example, I've had people that have wanted to come to me, or everything happened. Your insurance could change. Your address may change. You may be moving, or they don't have the availability, or your therapist doesn't deal with the issues that you need to. So maybe you find out, I need couples counseling, instead of individual. You can ask, and especially if you are leaving your therapist because, you no harm, no foul, then ask them. But now if you, just in general, if you think your therapist is shitty, don't ask them for referral.
To their shitty therapist friends.
I wouldn't ask the shady contractor for a referral.
Okay, so when I haven't had comfort, there's been no connection. It hasn't been like I feel you on any level. It's been like, sit and tell me about your problems and then leave kind of a thing. And so I can see that if that is your issue, if you want more connection, the referral might not be as helpful if you didn't connect at all with the person. You might not connect at all with the person they sent
That's
it to.
right.
So yeah. Goddess Within says, great video. I'm a therapist with a virtual practice. I'm in Kenya and it's 2:30 a.m. So I'll have to catch the replay. I love this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'll have to catch the replay later. If you guys have questions, throw them in the comments. Trisha's here for you. Not here for me. So I can just call her and have her be my fake therapist.
Water over here. I'm just talking.
Listen. Okay. Question number, whatever we are right now. What should I be bringing up in my therapy sessions?
You're presenting problems.
Okay.
So most therapists will send you, some kind of intake form or something, and it will ask you basically what brings you to therapy. So is it you just had a recent loss? Sometimes for people, it's an event. Something happened. Somebody passed away, or you had a miscarriage, or you're facing a divorce, or, problems with the kids or something like that. And some people come with symptoms. I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, or I just don't feel like doing anything, or I feel really hyper, I can't stop moving, they'll come with the symptoms, and then you try to go backwards from there. Either one is fine, but whatever, I'd say definitely know kind of like what is your pressing issue. If it's someplace where where you have to be because you are court ordered or something like that, then at least start with, why are you court ordered?
Okay. We talked about court ordered a lot today, which makes me sorry.
I'm just saying, people get court ordered to therapy.
I hadn't thought about that. But that is something that comes up.
Especially more so now, because there has been a big push for mental health, for people to seek mental health help, for employers to encourage their employees to utilize their mental health benefits, and for the general public to recognize mental health and to destigmatize it because of all of the tragedies that have been going on. So a lot of people don't do that willingly and have a situation come.
Okay, so they don't go to therapy when they probably should have gone to therapy, and then they're required to go to therapy a little later on. Okay, that makes sense.
Prevention, so we're not doing an intervention.
Ooh, another one. Prevention.
Hold on, can I trademark that, or is that's somebody else's, I think?
Oh, I'm doing an intervention. I love it.
Listen, you heard it first on YouTube. Roshida on the loose as a therapist.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I know that there have been times where I've gone to therapy. Like I've gone to therapy because there is a problem or I'm seeking a solution, etc. And the first couple weeks I'm good, and then like I don't know, 6 weeks into it, I'm like, I don't want to talk about shit. Like I'm just here sitting here like doing my time. It feels like it's court ordered. I have shown up, but I am not in the mood. I do not want to talk. Leave me alone. What do you recommend for clients when they're feeling like that?
So sometimes you have to change it up. Now, if you are in a situation where 6 weeks go and you're just kind of going through the motions, now is that because you felt like you resolved whatever is going on and you can kind of handle it on your own, and now you're not so motivated to come show up to therapy and talk about stuff anymore? Okay, then you can talk about spreading out your therapy sessions. So maybe they're every 2 weeks, or, maybe get down to once a month consult, or, you know what, I think I'm good now. How do you feel about wrapping it up? A lot of times your therapist may be like, I'm seeing a change in mood or behavior, or how are you feeling? How are you progressing? What do you think is going on? And you may agree mutually to break up, or maybe change the approach, or um, at least address what the change is.
Okay. All right.
What
I
was the
still don't
question?
want to talk. Still sitting on the couch, like
You want to talk?
I don't
You
want to.
said,
I know
oh,
I've been like that multiple times. I don't want to talk to you. I
that's
just want
okay.
to.
I have clients in their hair with their hair bun on the couch and a therapy session. You know,
Okay. All right. So that's just a normal part of going through the process.
it can be.
Okay.
Sometimes you think you're going into session therapy for one thing, and something totally different will come out, and it can it can be draining, no doubt. Treatment with anything can be draining. It's just like if you're training for some kind of sport, or you're fighting to get through school, or whatever it is. It's work and it's can be exhausting. But when you're done with it, the freedom that you have from it, just like when you get your degree, or you know you get to the championship, it's priceless.
Mhm. All right.
I keep forgetting
It's,
what I keep forgetting what the question is. You
it's
just got
fine.
me running my mouth.
She's running her mouth, y'all. She be running her mouth. All right. Do you want clients to refer people looking for a therapist to you?
I love it. That's actually, I don't do a whole lot of advertising. Most of my business has been either repeat, or word of mouth.
Mhm.
And that's the best kind, because that means you've experienced something for me personally, and you thought enough of me to say, I think you can help this person. So yeah, yeah, yeah. You refer, if you like it, share it.
And so we talked about this before in some of the previous videos. People in your network are probably looking for therapists and don't know where to go. So if you have a good therapist, drop that info in the group chat. Not like the 1,000-person WhatsApp group, but
Right,
like the homegirl group chat. Drop
right,
it in, you know what I mean? And if you're looking for a therapist, ask the group chat, who do you see? Where are they? Do you love them? Do you not? Because that's a great way to find someone. It's a great way to get a referral for someone who may be perfect for you. Maybe your insurance accepts them. Maybe it's a great fit, and your therapist isn't going to talk to your friend about you or you to your friend. So
right.
you can see the same therapist as
Oh yeah, I
other
didn't even
people.
think about I wasn't even thinking about that in that sense. Okay, yeah. But if you're concerned about, should I recommend my best friend or somebody to therapy, because are they going to talk about, the answer is, I don't know. We may talk about you. Um, if you're a problem in your best friend's life, or a person in your best friend's life, and you refer your best friend, yes, we may talk about you. I will never tell, your therapist will not tell your best friend what you and her talk about, and and um and vice versa. I won't, your therapist won't tell you what the therapist and the best friend talked about either. Um so if that's your concern, I don't know what your skeletons are. Maybe I don't know what it is. But no, we don't share information like that. We don't.
Okay, that's helpful. Jessica is in the comments with the question. Thank you, Jessica.
Hi,
She'd love to hear
Jessie.
your fingers. I'd like to talk about boundaries. Many therapists say, call, text me anytime, which I feel should only be for a crisis. What do you think is reasonable, unreasonable? Are your clients contacting you outside of sessions for support?
Um, I tell my patients that or clients, I'm not a 24-hour, I don't do crisis response. So I make sure that they have their crisis number. They're to call 911 if it's if they feel like they're in some type of emergency, or if there are more severe case, I make sure that they have suicide hotline, because I'm just not set up to be a crisis center like that. I may be asleep, you know. Um, So for me, my clients can text to schedule appointments and things like that. If it's an emergency, they have to call the crisis line. But if it's just, hey, can we meet for a session right now? That would be up to my availability. Um, but every therapist is set up different. Some people have work with a group where they might have people on call, and it just depends on their level of comfort. I personally um, try to keep some level of distance from that because I just can't. I don't have the time to have a whole conversation texting. Save that for the session.
You don't want me hitting you up in between, giving you updates like,
Yes.
so I called Tyrone, like you said, but you don't want that.
Not me personally, no.
Okay.
What another therapist, and there are different clients. Some clients require a quicker response. They feel like if you don't respond to a text or an email right away, that's uncomfortable for them. So they might need a therapist that's more responsive in that way.
And that's actually a really great question, Jessica. I never thought of it before. But if your therapist says call, text anytime, that probably is their boundary. Like Trisha, you wouldn't say that to a client, right?
Yeah, no. You could call, text. If you need to change your appointment, hit me up.
But don't call me in between sessions. You're never going to offer that to a client. So I'm assuming that a therapist that does offer that to a client is more open to having those intimate conversations between sessions. Okay.
Yeah, and that would be for the therapist to work out their boundaries with you. Because sometimes, the client might not know what the boundary is, but it's for me to say, okay, I didn't need that whole long text message,
the 3-page email.
At 3:00 in the morning. Going forward, why don't you just kind of keep all your stuff together, and when we have our weekly session, you can bring it up, and that's me setting that boundary with them. Others may be like, okay, thank you for sending that to me, and
that reminds me when I saw my therapist for the first time last Monday, I think, she asked me to create a page in my journal where I kept notes for her for our next session. So as things came up that I wanted to talk to her about, she asked me to specifically put my name at the top of the page. Right. And as things come up that you want to talk to me about, write them down, which I guess was her way of saying, don't contact me in between.
Don't call me.
Don't call
me. At 2:00 in the morning when you have an epiphany about why you like Tyrone so much.
Okay. I didn't get it at the time. I was like, okay, sure, I'll keep notes. But that is very clearly saying, I will talk to you next time.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. So I get it. That triggered something inside, and I get what she's saying now. You can. I will talk to you during our session.
You won't even know that you're being managed.
I did not know I was being managed, but she managed ahead of me because I was like, I don't need a note. A page of notes. She was like, so get your journal and write my name at the top of the page. And anytime something comes up you want to tell me about, write it down and we'll talk about it your next session. And I was like, who needs to, in between? I don't need to tell you anything. But now I know I was being handled. I appreciate the skill with which she did that. I didn't even know I was being handled.
There. I like it.
Yes, she's been doing it for a while. I see. Okay. All right. We have a question here from someone who uses marijuana for self-care. She's very into it. She wants to know how to find a therapist that won't judge you for your. She specifically wanted to know about marijuana use, but I'm sure some other people want to know about other drugs as well.
That's a tough one because there are marijuana-friendly therapists. I think some therapists are afraid to, advertise it. It's still stigmatized, but ask.
Okay. So in your consultation first session, ask.
You can, maybe you don't ask how don't I smoke weed, you got a problem with that? but maybe you say something like, So what are your attitudes to, or what's your attitude or approach towards recreational or medicinal marijuana usage?
Okay.
And let you know,
Fancy.
because the consult, oh gosh, every now and then I
She's a
every
real
now and
therapist,
then I
y'all.
sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Sometimes I'm like, that's just my cousin. But sometimes I'm like, oh yes, this is actually what she does for a living.
It's
But let me tell
good.
you, I ignore all her advice. Like she'd be like, are you holding on to it? I'd be like, give me some chicken wings. Like whatever.
Tell me to shut up and cook the wings, girl.
Let's go get some crab. I don't need to talk about this.
I don't want to talk about my issues.
I want to talk about my issues.
Fix me my drink, bitch.
Thank you. Thank me a drink. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments now. I really like doing this session. It was a great opportunity to talk to Trisha about the things that you're. No,
Are you managing me?
I'm not managing you yet. I will in a minute.
Oh, okay. I was having
Okay,
a good
so
time.
I'm just trying to get more questions while people are here. So if you're here, you have questions. If you are not in therapy now and you're watching this, tell us what's standing between you and therapy, and let's see if we can build a bridge. So come on. All right, Trisha, as a therapist, what do you think stands between most, what's that, Black women? What stands between most Black women and getting into therapy? The ones who are not doing it now.
You know, I would have said not too long ago, I would have said cost. But nowadays, there is funding for mental health. So even if you don't have insurance, you can get into therapy. I think what stops a lot of Black women, and I do have a lot of Black women clients, um, stigma.
Okay.
I think we as Black women have this superwoman, never let them see you sweat. I can handle it all. I don't need nobody. I don't, you know, and we're afraid that if we seek help, it means that we're broken. It means that we're admitting that there's something wrong with us, which in reality, there's something wrong with everybody. But like, if you broke your foot, you're not just gonna keep limping around like it ain't broke. Because it is. You gotta get help. So stigma, um, I think time, mostly because, well, busy. You got kids, you got work, maybe two jobs. Um, but I think I've been getting more people in lately because they've lost jobs. So there is more time on some people's part to work in the therapy, but there's also that fear of, what to expect. What are you gonna do? I don't want nobody therapizing me. What's gonna happen? Um, are they gonna tell all my family what's going on? Um, is my ex-wife gonna know?
Oh wait, I can't hear you anymore. Say something. Nope, I can't hear you. Let's see what's going on. You're not muted.
It ain't me.
Oh, no, you're back. You're back. You're back. That might have been me.
It says my internet connection is unstable.
Now I'm in Mexico with this great Wi-Fi, and she is in.
I'm
South
in the
Florida.
U.S. I ain't got no excuse.
No excuse. Okay, so do you think that most of your clients in therapy keep the fact that they're in therapy a secret from the people in their lives?
Some do.
Okay.
But actually most of them don't. I think initially most people just kind of do keep it to themselves. But a lot of them have been encouraged to come to therapy by family. So once they do come, they kind of like, I'm here. And like I said, they they feel open to share with their family, that they're seeing a therapist. I won't go and share, hey, this is my client. This is my therapist, but I've met family and I've met, friends who are at the house and they're having a session and like, oh, while we're talking about it, this is who I was talking. They bring them in on the conversation. I mean, but okay, wait. You made me lose track again. I'm just talking.
That's
This
why
is
we're
not
here, because
your
we
fault
wanted a
because
therapist
it's
who
not
would
me. It
talk.
can't be me.
It's ask a therapist. So
A therapist. What happens when your therapist rambles?
what happens when you're my new therapist? Let's talk about this. I would say something, and then she would like say something that felt like it was a way of connecting, but that would give me like information about her life. And so I would say something, she would say something, I would say something, she would say something. And while she's a lovely person, I don't care about your life, girl. And so is that a warning sign for me? Like the fact that she's telling me things and I'm like, but I don't, let's talk about me. Like, you've told me this story. I think you're trying to connect, but I don't need, it was our first session. And so I don't know if it's going to continue on like that. But that was my concern in seeing her, was like, if every time I tell you a story, you tell me your matching story, you spent half the time talking about you and half the time talking about me. And even though I'm not paying for this session, it is my time. And so is that something
So
I should be worried about?
You want half price.
I don't care about your brother-in-law or your father. I don't. And so is that a connection method, or is that something I should be like, if this keeps going, it's a problem?
It is a way of building rapport,
Okay.
so that way you can establish, like you're more relatable. I think sometimes people go into therapy and think there's this professional person that's sitting behind a desk and is going to judge you and evaluate you. And, they say, oh, I have a soccer game. And therapist, oh, I play soccer too. Okay. But you're obviously not that, you're not that client. Okay too.
That was the only thing that felt like it might not be a good fit, is she had a lot of stories. And I was like,
I ain't trying to hear about you.
I literally don't care.
Well, you know what? You've been at this long enough to know. Trust your instinct.
Okay, so I'll do at least 2 sessions and then see. Stephanie says she wouldn't like that either. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about who blocked you. Who blocked you on Facebook? Like, I don't. That's not. That's what she told me. Like, which family members? And I was like, I don't. For this first session, it's fine because I think you're just trying to connect. But if this carries on, we're not. I'm the center. I am the center of this therapy session, not your stories. So that's my little concern. So a concern about the therapy session. Okay. What else do you want if you could speak to your future clients? We talked about stigma and why Black women aren't getting in. And destigmatizing isn't something we can do in this video, right? Like the stigma is the stigma. I would love it if it was destigmatized, because therapy isn't about, I mean, sometimes it's about fixing what's broken, really. Truly it is.
I mean, yeah, it's true. It should be broken.
Right. But like you said before, when you get in earlier, like the sooner you can get in, just maybe talk about how you feel, the less chance it is that you're like required to go either by someone in authority or someone in your life, you know. But what would you want your future clients, like what would you want to tell them as a therapist right now?
It's cliche, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, It's a little cliche. I don't know what the cooler way of saying is, like, take your time. You didn't get this way overnight, so you're not gonna change overnight. You have to give yourself time to fix yourself, or to heal, or to whatever it is that, to resolve whatever it is that you're going through. Um, and you may very well take some steps backwards, take some steps forward, and go back and forth. But failure's not an option.
Okay.
If you don't take care of your mental health, everything else falls apart, and then there's nothing else. So you got to do
Do
it.
you, do you find that a lot of your clients come in and want instant results? Or you have a
Yeah.
portion of clients who do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe more so couples. Um
Mm, okay. I don't know that life. So go ahead and tell us.
Couples are some of my favorite. I don't know why. I don't know why. I love working with couples. But I think by the time a couple gets, and I'm gonna add the black couple on top of it. By the
Okay.
time I'll go ahead and do that. uh, um, a couple gets to therapy, it's usually right before, it's last ditch before we divorce. So they're already so fed up and high strung and frustrated, and have so much history behind what has led to this point, that if there's no relief soon, they're ready to just, all right, well, I tried. So I said I tried, and we're done with it. But it just it really doesn't work that way. Some things take time. You might can work on um changing a behavior, but feelings and emotions take a little bit longer. If your problem with your husband is he doesn't clean up after himself, and you know he leaves his socks everywhere, that's something that you can work with within a relatively short amount of time. But if your problem is that you guys haven't been intimate for, several months or several years, and now you want to see what you want to do with your relationship, that's going to take a little bit more time. And I know you've
But,
been going through it for, years, but you just been here a few weeks. So
okay. So people are more likely to say, this isn't working. You haven't fixed me yet in like couples counseling than, or sooner to do it in couples counseling than in individual counseling.
that's just been my experience,
Okay.
that, and because you have the pressure of somebody else, and sometimes it can be depending on the relationship, it can be combative. You go to therapy, and you talk about each other, then you got to go home and you got to look at each other. And um sometimes the issues that you have is hard to face, and you're already at the end, so it's hard to take any more. But you know so a lot of couples do well when they have somebody that is a neutral party, that they can, it's like a mediation. That's really what therapy with couples is just making sure each side is getting heard, and trying to find a common solution.
Okay. I want to, something you said, maybe spin off of couples for a second and say, what if I have conflict or issues with a family member that's not a, I'm not in a relationship with? Let's just say, for example, my mom.
All right, let me take a
Trish is
smoke.
like 2 blocks, like 2 miles away from my mom right now. And our mom is watching this, I think. But let's talk about that. So
Hi, auntie.
if I have uh, an issue that I haven't been able to resolve with a family member or a friend, is that something that you recommend, like bringing the other person into counseling, or is it more of a you got to work on this, like how you relate to that issue on your own kind of a thing? So should I bring my mom with me to therapy?
It depends on your therapist. Does your
Yeah.
therapist? Oh, that's another question you could ask. Who is the therapy for? Um, is it for you? Is it for a child? Is it for your uh, you as a couple, or is it for a family? Are you blending a family, or are you having issues with a particular person that you feel like you need to address with them? So that's also one of the things you need to ask a counselor before you before you start, is do they do couples therapy, family, or group? um so I do family therapy as well. So for me, if I was seeing that a client was having a particular issue with somebody, um, it would be beneficial to have that person if the person is open to it.
Okay.
Let me
She's not
stop.
saying no more because
I'm
she's not gonna get in trouble with my mama today.
Auntie, we love you. When the kids that miss you, come, Auntie.
um, See this? You're gonna try to get on the good side today. Okay, so that's helpful because I know that a lot of times therapists can be like, you can't worry about them. You need to like figure out what you are going to do and look at like examine yourself and like let them be whoever they are. So knowing that finding a therapist that you can go into a group therapy session with is possible is actually really helpful.
Yeah, there's definitely therapists out there that do that, and sometimes it is really beneficial. Now, it also depends on your situation and what your particular uh, issue is. So, if you're having a problem, let's say for example, you're having a problem with mom. I might not be as apt to say we should do a therapy session with mom, but if you live with mom, then that's different. If you don't live with mom, or if mom is far away, you know, but it also depends on, the level of contact that you're going to have with this person, how deeply rooted is the issue, and is it a you issue? Is it something that you got to deal with, or collectively you have to deal with this person? Like it could be a baby daddy or an ex, or a coworker or a business partner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it also depends on how much contact you have to have with this person before I'd say, if it's your brother that lives, in Cali somewhere that you see once a year, and it just bothers you because Christmas is the only time you see him, I might be like, y'all got to work on that. But if it's, your somebody that's directly with you on a regular basis, I'd be more apt to let's try and get them in here. But they got to be
Okay.
willing to.
Right. Right. Okay. Anything else you want our audience to know?
Um, I would like your audience to know that therapy is what you make it. There are so many different types of therapists. There are so many different types of therapies. But if you are feeling like you need some type of help dealing with just everyday stuff. I mean, life is hard. This whole pandemic, political climate, people are having health issues. Their families, you're not able to see them. Your kids are in your house all the time because they're in virtual school. Your job wants you to do more, or you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from. Everybody has their issues, but don't let your fear of what people think of you stop you from getting the help that you need. Because if that stuff builds up, don't end up on somebody's news station. Okay, you deal with it. You'll be the much better person for it. So just be open to the therapy process. If you don't feel a connection with a therapist, try another one. Ooh, I don't want to say it. I was going to say it's like trying on shoes, but I don't want to think of myself as a shoe though.
I said it the other day. I said it was like dating. Like date, date a couple therapists. Go see them.
It
If you don't like them, date another one.
is. This is true. Maybe
You don't have
not
to get
speed
locked down.
dating, but
No.
maybe like a mixer.
Yeah, you don't have to get locked down with the first therapist, especially if they're
No,
chatty about their
no.
lives.
It's but like I said, I don't have that problem because my
She's
clients hear me.
amazing. She is in Miramar,
I'm
Florida. I'll put her
awesome.
contact information in the comments. So if you're in South Florida and you'd like to see Trisha Antonio Smith, LCSW, you can go see her.
And the
But I really
company name is TGA Counseling. Look me up on tgacounseling.com or at TGA Counseling on one of them Twitter. What are them things? Don't do that.
clearly don't look her
I
up.
don't.
TGA
Just
Counseling.
Google me.
TGAcounseling.com. Clearly.
Because I don't know how to respond to you on on the gram
I'll put a link in the comments. This is my favorite cousin.
And just so you know, I'm not that type of therapist. I don't know how to do all of that stuff. I
She
can use WhatsApp, but
she can use WhatsApp.
I don't have
Okay, so
anything on WhatsApp. So no.
I think that's it for us tonight. If you have more questions, you can drop them in the comments. I will WhatsApp Trisha and we will get an answer to them. But I really appreciate you being here with us today. I got questions submitted on some of these social network sites that you clearly don't use. And so I'm glad we were able to answer them. The people who were here today, I'm glad we were able to answer your questions. Let us know as things come up. My goal in February is to help everyone who wants to find a therapist, especially Black women. I want to get you into therapy. I want to provide resources that help you find a therapist, which is why I'm doing Find a Therapist February, hashtag Find a Therapist February. So if you are looking for therapy resources, I'll drop a link where I have some on my website. And I'll put a place where you can submit your email address and I will email you resources directly. I'll put that in the comments. This has been so much fun. Love being
I love
here
you.
with
I
you.
miss you.
I love you. I miss you. Oh, if you guys know my story about how I went to Florida for a birthday party for a week and I got hurt and I had to stay for a year, it was Trisha's party. So I showed up one day for Trisha's party was on like a Saturday. I showed up on a Wednesday, and by Friday I was in the ER and I couldnn't walk. But I showed up to her party.
But she showed
in a
up
walker.
with a walker. I was breaking it down. Hey.
I spent like 3 minutes on the dance floor before I was like, that's my night, y'all. Like that's it. So yes,
broke it down with that walker. I couldn't tell her leg was broke.
leg was broke. So yes, Trisha is the reason that I spent a year in Florida instead of
and you're welcome.
Mexico City. So thanks for being here with us today, guys. This was my pleasure. And if you have questions about therapy, let us know. If you want therapy resources, I'll put a link there so you can get emails from me. And thank you for